Okay, here I go. What I'm going to do here is record this. And I'm recording it at a pretty high resolution, so I don't know how it's going to work out. But if you want this later on as a video reference, you can do that. Also, the any code that I write today, I'll also make that available to you in some way, okay, probably on GitHub. So today, let's see, we go back to the class here. I just want to talk a little bit about where we are, and then do some demonstrations and explanations today that will help you complete some of the courses. So Google App Engine, most of you, I believe, are finished this, and this was tough for some people because of configuration issues. For others, it was easy. Now, the thing about this assignment is you could have gone through it very quickly without learning too much, but if you did some of the extra reading and some side experiments, some experiments on the side, you could have spent a lot of time on this assignment and learned more. But now, as we go forward, all of the material covered in here, most of the material, probably close to all of it, close to all of the work that we're going to do, is really based on the material covered in this tutorial. So this tutorial covers a lot of ground. So we're going to start from the beginning. This is the Bootstrap. I looked at this last time. It's basically getting the Bootstrap library set up and installed in a static project. And here is an Ajax assignment. And today I'll talk a little bit about Ajax and also get started with this assignment here, this data store assignment. This is pretty complicated, and so you're going to need to spend a lot of time at this. This point-wise, for your grade, this is worth 3 times the amount of points as the previous exercises. So that's because it's a substantial amount of work that you need to do. So prepare yourself to spend some time with this. Now, this exercise is a variation of an exercise I gave last year. And these are videos that walk you through the solution of last year's exercise, which is similar to this exercise. It's not the same, though. It's significantly different. And so you can see these videos. Some of the students that have completed this exercise already have found those videos to be useful. So I've left them there. But there's some material that they don't cover, such as filters and limiting access to the admin user, that sort of thing. And I'm going to try to cover that today. Also I'm going to talk about Java server pages. And I'm going to propose I'm going to show a different kind of architecture that you can use to solve this problem. An architecture which I think is simpler to work in, actually. And then I've got links to notes and so on. So I'm sort of getting ready for this particular exercise. It's a challenging exercise. And to do this exercise, of course, we also need to talk about this material in here, in this Ajax assignment. So I'll just start doing some experiments related to these 2 exercises. Well, the Ajax exercise here asks you to do 3 things. And today, what I'll do is I'll show you this third technique here, which is how to use JSON, the JavaScript object notation, for implementing a client-server kind of communication system. All right, so let's go ahead and start experimenting here. So I've got Eclipse started up, and I'm going to start a new project. Make it a web application project. And I'll call this project Test 405. And the package is going to be CSE 405. It doesn't matter. deselect the Google Web Toolkit, and I'm going to look at this configure SDK here, and that looks all right. Where was it that we specify the JDK in here? Is it
Side window and preferences.
Oh, so that would have already been done, right?
Yeah.
All right. You can always change it later on as well. So I'm going to hit finish on that. You got some errors there. It's not a big deal. All right, here it is. Test 405. First thing I'm going to do is run it. Run as web application. I'll look in the console window. You should always look in the console window. Don't do anything if you see an error. And you'll need to handle the error. So this is the URL. And I'm just going to test this. There it is, we're running. This is a link to a servlet. The servlet is running. So we've got the applications configured. And there's a useful window to look at here, which I'm going to show you. It's a view. It's called a view. So under Window, Show View, and I think it is... I don't remember how to get there. Something to do, is it under Google? That's not it. Maybe it's under, let me look at that later. I'm going to shut down the server here. All right. I can clear the console window there. All right, let's. I'm going to show you. Let's take a look at an Ajax transaction. And what I'm going to do here now, I'll do two things. First, I'm going to show you how to create a web page, say for the admin user, and only admin user can get to the web page. I think the easiest way to do that is to create a JSP file. So I'm going to show you how to do that. New, file. I'm going to call this admin.jsp. And this is going to say hi. Okay? That's it. And what I want to do is restrict access to this file only to the admin user. How can we do that? So if we run it now, and we go to that page, we can get there. Admin.jsp says hi, okay? I want this to fail. I want this to say, you need to log in as the admin user. Now, you'll need to use this when you work on that data store assignment. So you'll need to understand this, store this, this knowledge away for that purpose. Let's take a look how to do this. I'm going to shut down the server again. And what I'm going to do is create a filter that checks for the admin user. So when the request comes in to access admin.jsp, it has to pass through this filter first. And the filter is going to reject the request if the user is not the logged in admin user. All right, so I'll need to create a new class. I'm going to call this the admin JSP filter. And it's going to implement an interface. I'm going to add this here. And this will be a servlet filter. Let's see if I can get it through here somewhere. It's a JavaX servlet filter. That's the one right there. And I guess I hit OK. There we go. And this, which method stubs would you like to create? Inherited abstract methods. That's convenient. So rather than looking up in the documentation what methods we need to implement, we can have Eclipse generate the method stubs for us. Stubs are incomplete implementations of functions. And see, this is not, the superclass is object. Filter is not our parent class. We're implementing an interface. So you'll see what that looks like in a second. I'll show that to you. You would see this keyword right there, implement. So the admin JSP filter implements filter. If filter were a class, it would say admin JSP filter extends filter. But it doesn't say extends, it says implements, because filter is an interface. An interface is simply a declaration of functions without any implementation. So when we implement filter, that means this class here doesn't have, it's not inheriting any functionality. It's just promising to implement the abstract methods of the interface. And there are 3 abstract methods: destroy, do filter, and init. All 3 of these need to be implemented. Now, we don't need to do anything when the filter is destroyed. We don't need to do anything on initialization. So I just make those empty bodies, empty method bodies. Maybe I'll leave that the way it was. And but this is the this method here. I just want to push that up to the top. Do filter. This is the method that runs on every request that's directed into the filter. And so destroy means when you shut down the web application. This method runs. Init means when you start up the web application. You give it. This is a point at which you can execute some code. Right? That's why they call it init. But this do filter, this is a function that's invoked on every request that's going to the resource that you're attaching your filter to. I'm going to change some names in here. I don't like arc0. I'm going to just call that REQ for request. Response, I'm going to rename that to RESP. Now notice these are implementing, this response is a servlet response. This request is a servlet request. It's not an HTTP servlet request. And that actually makes a difference. I'm going to do this. I'm going to declare HTTP servlet response. HTTP response. See, this filter interface is defined in a package called JavaX Servlet, and that's some generic classes and interfaces for request response protocols in general. And it's more general, and we can't use we need to access the specific functionality that's relevant to the HTTP protocol in particular. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to cast the response object that got passed into the do filter method. I'm going to, because we're running inside a web server, so it's going to be an HTTP servlet response. So I know that I can cast it like this. This is a valid cast operation. Of course, we need to resolve that. And so look at that. See, we're importing from a different package. The filter itself is part of JavaX Servlet, which is this generic servlets for all different kinds of protocols. But we are not dealing with, we're dealing with the HTTP protocol specifically. And so the HTTP servlet response is in this other package, javaxservlet.http. So we're casting that down, and now we can use that. actually, I'm not sure. Let's assume that the user is not allowed to access the resource. And what we would do is let's pretend that you know, the user is not allowed to access the file. So what we would do there would be to redirect. I'm going to send a redirect instruction. I'm going to say, okay, you need to go to the root, you know, the home. So we're going to redirect the user to the root. So this is our URL. Now the filter, defining the filter is done at this point. I mean, you know, in a very limited way. It doesn't do much, but we need to add it to the application. We need to configure it through this web.xml file. This is the design perspective, which I never use. I always click on this source tab, but you can do as you like there, of course. And this is the default servlet. You know, when we had that project creation wizard ran, and it gave us this servlet, and we can leave that in there. But there's going to be, I think what I'm going to do here, I'm going to use, I'm going to make some comments here. These are going to be my filter section, right? And then I want to put a servlet section in here, just so I can get organized. And the filter that we need to configure the filter that we just defined. So this is going to be filter. Look at that! Isn't that convenient? Just popped it right in there. So we're going to need the filter name. Look at that. And that's going to be called the admin JSP filter. This is arbitrary. You just pick the name that makes sense to you. And then we need the filter class. It's very similar to Servlet. See, the Servlet, we've got the Servlet name. That's just a name that we're giving it. And then we have the Servlet class. Well, that has to match with the, you know, the class, the source code class name here. So let's put the filter class now. It's the filter class, and that's going to be CSE 405.admin JSP filter. So what this does is it tells the web container to create an instance of this class and let it be known by this name. All right, so after we create the instance, we have to tell the system what to do with that instance. We're going to do it down here. This is the welcome file list. Let's see, this stuff needs to be cleaned up a little, actually. Can I do some kind of cleaning on there? Can I do format? There we go. Good. That looks a little better. This is the welcome file list. I don't really like it in the middle there. I'm going to put it down on the bottom. So I'm going to grab that. I'll put it down here just to get it out of the way. And here, this is one of my servlets. But notice that there's a servlet mapping element here. I'm going to call that the servlet mappings section. And similarly, I'm going to have a section for my filters. So I'm going to do filter mappings, just to keep things organized so I can find stuff. Because you tend to write a lot of these things. And a servlet here, this is going to need to come up. This is going to need to come up and go into this section here. The order of these top-level child elements does not matter. In fact, in general, I think in the web.xml file, the order of elements is not significant. So this is going to be my welcome file list. I just put it in like that, just to keep it consistent, keep the structure of this file consistent. Every section has a comment. All right, let's create the filter mapping now. Now we want to sit in front of, we want to intercept requests that are coming for the admin.jsp file. So it's called a, what is it, a filter mapping, right? Filter mapping, look at that. All right. And it's underlined in red because it's missing required child elements. We're going to put those in there, get rid of that red underline. So just like a servlet mapping, we need a filter name and a URL pattern. So it's going to be a filter name. And that's the admin JSP filter. That has to match the name we gave it up here. See, it's the same thing. So it says this named filter instance, it's going to be associated with the following URL pattern, and that'll be /admin.jsp. There we go. I don't know why this is red. It's not an error. I don't know what it's doing. Maybe if I save it. No.
It says that the word is misspelled.
That's misspelled?
Well, I think
Servlet. Oh, maybe, yeah.
it doesn't really matter.
It's not correctly spelled.
It's just whatever word thing is recognized.
Yeah, I mean, it tries to help as best it can, right? But it's not as smart as we are. All right, so here we go. So let's try this now. Let's start that up. I'm going to just hit this restart button. And I don't see any error messages. It's good. And now this page is all right. Now tell me, for those who are following, what's going to happen when I submit that request? What do I think is going to happen? Won't let me go there. It's going to do what? It's going to send us to /. See? When this do filter runs, we're just going to send a redirect. So we'll never see the hi, but we'll be sent back to the home page. Let's see if that works. See that? We're at the home page. We don't see hi. Okay. All right, that's the beginning. So far, we haven't made any mistakes. Now, what we want to do is we don't want to do that. We only want to send. We want to filter out the admin user, the non-admin users rather. So we want to check for admin users. So that, how do we do that? And I'm just going to refer to my notes here. This assignment data store. Here it is. You can check for the presence of an admin user using the isAdmin method of the user service class. There it is. And then there's like, is user logged in, is user admin. And look at this, we have to check this first. We have to check to see if the user's logged in first before we call isAdmin user. Because if the user's not logged in and we call isAdmin user, we're going to get an exception, see? Illegal state. If the current user's not logged in, we're going to throw an exception. And throwing exceptions is, throwing and handling exceptions is very, very slow. So in a web application, or a video game, where you have a game loop, anything that's you're concerned about performance, you don't want to be throwing exceptions. All right, just a general rule. Now let's get that. So it's what was it called? A user service. User service. See that the naming is straightforward. It's like user service is the class name. It's in upper camel case. See the uppercase U, uppercase S. And then for the variable, I just use the same name, but I use in lower camel case. Right, so to distinguish between a class and a variable. So this user service, I think I can get it in there from some kind of a method here. Is it like get? Is that it? Maybe that's not it. That's not it. Is it? That's not available. So I got to go back to my documentation here. Using the user services. There it is. Oh, it's user service factory right there. User service factory. User service factory dot get user service. There we go. And this thing is not resolved, so we're going to have to organize imports on that one. And we've got two choices here. So you have to look at that. Don't just click through that too fast. And this is the App Engine Hosting API. This user service PB. I don't know what it is, but I know it's not what we want. And so I'm going to hit. And if you're not sure about that, you can always go to here and see that that this is it. That's the package right there. Okay, so you can check in the documentation. So you know which one. See, there's two classes in the class path that both have a definition for a class called user service, but they're in different packages. So our challenge at this point is to pick which one. They're going to do different things. If we pick this one, it's going to fail. The program won't run correctly. So we have to understand how to select the right class definition. All right. So once we have that user service, we can do some checking. We can go if, maybe we'll do it like this. I think you get a user object, user equals, and then I do user service. Oh, no. That's not it. If user service dot is logged in, isn't that it? What did I do wrong? Oh, is user logged in? There we go. So if the user is logged in, and now wait, I'm not going to do that. Let's suppose the user is not logged in. Let's do it like that. If the user is not logged in, then let's send them to the login page. And we're going to redirect them to the login page. So we're going to send them to we're going to send a redirect. Now, the login page, the URL for the login page is different when you're running in the development deployment versus the production deployment. So we're going to use code to get the login URL because the login URL cannot be hard-coded at this point. Once again, the login URL will be different based on the deployment that we're in. If we're in a production deployment or a development deployment, we're going to get a different URL. So it's going to be the user service dot create login URL. This is the destination URL here. So the destination URL, and we can hard code it in there. It's /admin.jsp. That's where we're trying to get to. This is our destination. So the login URL, when we redirect the user to the login URL, that this admin.jsp is set as a final destination, because then the user is going to authenticate to the login system. When the login system is done and accepts the user, the login system is going to redirect the user to this destination. Normally, we don't see it like that. For this filter, we can be, we don't need to hard code this in there. And so a more generally useful expression for this is to use something else, and I'm going to show you how to do that here. That's the response object. I'm going to need to know the request object now. Okay, so it's HTTP request. Sorry, servlet request, and let me try to organized imports on that. And that's and I'm going to copy that because I'll need to use that in the casting expression. So HTTP request equals request. So we're taking the servlet request reference passed into our method. We're casting it to an HTTP servlet request reference. And so we store that here. There's a warning there because we haven't used it yet. But now we're going to use it. So well, we know this is where our ultimate destination is. This is where the user needs to get to. But we're going to end up reusing this filter code in other places, and there's just an expression that's going to give us usually the right result generally. So we can turn this code into something that's more generic and useful for other filters. So we're going to do it here. It's this HTTP request dot get. I'm trying to remember what it is. It's like get Yuri or something. Get request Yuri. I'm going to check that with this example. They probably have it right there. Look at that. See, it's right in the example. Actually, admin /JSP is the request URI, Uniform Resource Indicator. It's also Uniform Resource Location. It's a URL. There's not much of a difference there. So there's some hair splitting that's done on the difference between those two terms, but I think in general you can consider them equivalent. So this is, in fact, when the filter runs, it's because we're requesting this resource. That is, in fact, the request URI. So we don't have to hard code it in there. We can change the configuration in that web XML file, and this will be a self-adjusting code, so I still get the right result. So if we're not logged in, we're going to be redirected to the login page. And just remember, that's all. After we send a redirect, that's it. We don't want to do anything else, just to make sure we don't. I'm going to put a return in there. Although we could have a bunch of if-else statements in here, maybe that's an easier way to do it. So I'll do else, I'll do if-else. If we get to the if-else part, it means we're logged in. So now we want to see if we're the admin user. Okay, we know we're logged in, so it's safe to call isAdminUser. I won't throw an exception now. So if, that's not if else, it's else if, right? So if we are the admin user, we're good. We're good. We'll let the request pass through. And so we're going to use this this third argument called the filter chain, and I'm going to rename that to filter, or not filter. I'm sorry, chain. Now the chain, the filter chain is, you can think of the request as going through this chain, the links in the chain. Each link is a request handler, request processor. The first request comes in, we pass it to this filter. The filter decides whether the request should proceed any further. If it can't proceed any further because they're not logged in or because they're not admin, we're going to send them somewhere else. But if they are admin, we're going to say, okay, it's okay to go to the next link in the chain, which could be another filter, or it could be a servlet, or it could be something else. Okay, so let's, how do we use that? We do it right here. Not filter, chain, use chain. chain.toFilter, and we pass in the request and the response objects that get passed into us. We just pass them along to the next next component in the processing chain. Looks like I have an extra something in there. Else if I'm missing that. Okay. So if we're an admin user, and then the request goes through, we tell the chain that yeah, go ahead. Whoever needs to run next, let it run. Otherwise, we have a non-admin user trying to access the login page or the admin page. So we want to send them out of there. We're just going to we have a choice. We could redirect them to home, or what we could do is we can send an error message. We can say, you know, permission denied, and there's a way to do that in the HTTP protocol. I'm going to show that to you. This is HTTP response dot send error. So we're going to send an HTTP error. We're going to say something like not authorized. So it's a code. It's like 403 or something like that. Okay, but I don't remember it. But it's not a big deal because we can get it from one of the classes here. So it's going to be the HTTP Servlet response class, and it has some constants in there. We're going to look at the constants. And the constant we want is, well, forbidden. We can use that, right? And I think forbidden is a good one. Or is it not authorized? Do they have a not authorized? These are all part of the HTTP protocol. Unauthorized. That's a good one. Let's send that one. It's just some numeric code I don't have memorized. Maybe 401. Or that's 401. That's just it's an int, as you can see. Let's see if this works now. Let's look for errors. I don't see any problem. All right, let's try to go to admin. Oh, not logged in, and our code redirected us to the login page. Now this is a test login. This is pretend login. So once again, we're in a development environment. So if I log in as this user here, in fact, I can change the user. I'm going to call myself Alice. Okay, I'm going to log in as Alice. 401, not authorized. Okay. Oh, you know what? How do you log out? Oh, they're right there. Let's log out here. All right. Let's go back and see. I got redirected here. This time, let's log in as administrator. So I'm just going to click that check. It says, pretend I'm administrator. Remember, this is a development environment. It's for testing. Log me in as an administrator. There it is. There's the hi. It led us through. Now I can access admin.jsp. So that's how filters work. That's a unit right there. I should stop the recording, I think. Any questions? That's a unit of learning there. So I'm going to stop